guys a nerd. I've been recently asked by some people that I'm currently doing some work for, basically to put together a little document, as it were, about kind of a live streaming pre-record video, kind of 101, little hints and tips. Now, I'm not saying for any second that I am the go-to guy on this. I'm not by any means as clever as some people are with things like this, but I just wanted to talk to you about my experience, what I find works, and how to keep things as simple as humanly possible, and cutting out basically all the gubs that you might think you need where actually you don't. So for example, most of this is going to be filmed on my mobile phone. This shot now that you're looking at is filmed on my mobile phone. Now I'm fortunate because my mobile phone will film at 4K. It's probably got quite a decent microphone on it, but if you've got an iPhone, a Samsung, a Huawei, a Motorola, any kind of half-decent, vaguely well-known brand smartphone from the last 5 years, you've already got everything you need to do a decent-looking live stream video. So with that said, let's get into the details.
That's right.
Now, I might be covering things here that you already know, and if I am, I apologise, but it's always good to sometimes recap the basics. So, the first thing you should know when using a mobile phone to do live streaming, the front camera and the rear camera are different. Usually the front camera is not as high quality, especially when it comes to video, because it's designed mainly for video calling, like on WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, things like that, or for doing those horrific pictures where people hold their arm up like that and go into the camera. They're not really designed to be professional style photographs. Now, as phones are getting a bit more popular and the selfie is really taking off, those cameras are getting better. However, the live streaming of video, if you can, you're always better off using the rear camera, which is the camera I'm using now to take this wonderful shot of me stood against nothing. So, kind of wasted here, but if you've got somewhere that's interesting, you've got somewhere that's a bit more colourful, better lit, any kind of decent, exciting environment, using the rear camera is always going to allow you to get the most out of that environment. The next kind of crucially important thing is find somewhere to put your phone. I'm lucky, I've got mine on a funny little tripod-y thing, which I'll show you later on in the video. Literally just using the mount off the top of a selfie stick to attach the phone to the tripod. Because what most people don't realise is you can usually unscrew the top of them, and on the bottom there's a little thing where you can then screw in a tripod. And then you can use the selfie stick holder to mount your phone to a tripod, like I have done. Now, if you don't have a tripod, not the end of the world. You can pick up a tripod for 5-10 quid off the internet for a fixed video shot. It doesn't need to be a good tripod. You're not doing any fancy panning or tilting, you just fixed shot. It can be simple, straightforward, cheap and cheerful. What you might also want to do is just prop it up against a book or against a desk. You don't have to, put it on something expensive. You don't have to put it on a specifically designed piece of kit. Have a look what you got around. Even if it's a wine bottle, you just want to prop your phone up against it just so it stays upright and is in the right position. And whilst we're talking about the right position, always live stream landscape, which is the way we're doing it now. If you're trying to do something particularly kind of selfie based or something where portrait is actually the style you're going for, that's fine. But if you're doing a proper live stream and you want the video to look decent quality and to look vaguely professional, make sure you're sideways on in your phone, because anyone watching it on a TV, on a computer screen, or even on their phone tilted sideways, if you're watching a portrait video like that, you have this horrible black space either side, and you're kind of watching something that looks a bit like this kind of weird, it just looks hideous. And in fact, actually what I'll do is I'll crop this to show you what it looks like. Now, and as you can see, it's just a lot of wasted space. It looks not nice. YouTube tends to put lots of filler in these horrible black spaces here, but not all things are going to do that. So really, turn your phone on its side and get rid of those horrible black lines. You don't need them. The next point I want to make about using a phone to do a live stream or any kind of pre-record is a lot of the time the sound quality isn't going to be as good as if you're using some nice kind of sound kit or a good microphone. Most of the time on phones, they're pretty good. iPhones in particular have got very nice microphones, and I've often actually used them just to do sound, just literally using the sound recorder app on the phone, plonked it somewhere out of shot nearby, and I've used the sound from that on top of the video that I filmed on a different device. Now, if you're in a fortunate position like myself where you've got nice microphones and you've got good kit, you can obviously use external sources to capture audio, like I'm now doing here. and I've now obviously switched to a different mic. It would probably sound a little bit nicer, a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner, but it's not as easy because you've then got to sync it up. You've got to do all the kind of work to make sure it fits. I mean, the easiest way is just to go like that and obviously sync the two sounds together with some editing software and you're away. Feeding that into a live stream, however, is a whole new kind of kettle of fish that really, you're getting into complicated territory there. And we're trying to keep things simple. So for now, nothing wrong with good old-fashioned phone audio.
That's right.
Now, let's imagine for a second that, like me, you're in a kind of a fortunate position where a mobile phone isn't the only camera you've got. I've got a nice DSLR camera, which I also use for doing video. It's not particularly new, it's not top end. I use a Canon 5D Mark II, which is, I think, the first 5D that actually does video. I don't think the 5D Mark I even does video. But a Canon 5D Mark II is a perfectly functional video camera. And the reason it's great is you can pop all the nice Canon lenses on there and get a really cinematic feel. Now, you don't need that for live streaming. In fact, live streaming with a 5D Mark II would probably be a really bad idea because taking a video feed from that camera is a nightmare. I would usually use actually a proper camcorder to do a live feed into a live stream because you're more likely to be able to take a live feed from it easily. Again, it's not as easy as using a phone, and then you're getting into realms of needing video mixers, capture cards, specific software to do that. There are other ways, but realistically, if you want it to work well, you need a lot more kit to make it work. So just as a comparison to show you the difference in how the video looks, is I'll now switch to a shot taken on my 5D Mark II, and I'll use that camera as well to show you the setup of the mobile phone that I'm using to record the main body of this video. Okay. Now, I'm looking between two cameras here because I thought it'd be nice to be able to cut between the two shots so you can really see the difference. So now I'm talking to the phone, and now we've cut over to the Canon 5D Mark II, and what you'll notice is the kind of quality of the video is probably a lot nicer. There's a nice bit of blur in the background, you've got a nice depth of field because I'm using a nice 50mm prime lens. But one thing you will notice between the phone and the camera is the sound quality. So let's cut to the camera audio. I'm now using the built-in microphones on the 5D Mark II. They're not the most awful microphones I've ever encountered on a DSLR, but they are by no means the best. However, what the 5D does have is an input for an external mic, which I would highly recommend using. For this, now I'm going to cut back to the phone audio, and now what I'm doing is using the sound from the video on the phone and putting it over the top of the 5D footage just to show you what a difference it makes to have better sound. I could go the extra mile and put the external audio on as well so you could sync it up and get the kind of perfect look. In fact, let's do that now. Now I might be slightly out of focus because I have just moved, and here is a wonderful opportunity to list one of the cons of using a nice digital SLR camera. Focusing, unless you've got it on autofocus, which, let's be honest, you probably haven't because you don't want the lens constantly doing this and hearing the noise of the motors in the lenses doing that, you've probably got it on manual focus. And for the lens I've got, the focus point is very shallow, i.e. if I go backwards or forwards, I'm going to go out of focus, and where I need to be is kind of probably not where I am. However, I'm now using external audio to capture sound, in which case video quality should be lovely, sound quality should be lovely. So for pre-record, this is the setup you want.
That's right.
Right, so we're coming away from the video a little bit here just so I can show you what I've done with my phone and how I've mounted it on a tripod. So there you can see the top of a selfie stick holding on to the phone, which I've mounted in landscape to a very basic, very flimsy tripod. In fact, this tripod isn't actually a tripod, it's a stand for a photography light. Behind it, and we'll do a nice focus pull here because we're using a nice camera, we've got a proper tripod. Now this is quite a nice, posh, expensive tripod. However, you don't need this if you're doing a fixed shot. Any cheap tripod will work. This one's more designed for doing smooth panning, smooth tilting, and professional kind of quality video tracking. Now I thought, as I showed you a shot of the other camera, well, the phone set up on a tripod, I thought I'd show you the better, higher quality camera set up on a nice tripod just so you can see the kind of thing I'm using. Now if I come into shot here, and point out to you what you can get for these cameras, which I would highly recommend if you are going to be using these in any great kind of extent, if you're going to be using them a lot. Rode do a fantastic microphone. It's literally just called like a Rode Go mic or something like that. It literally just plonks on the top of the camera, and it's a nice directional mic with a kind of pop shield. I think you can even get what they refer to as a dead cat for it, which is like the big fluffy thing to protect from wind noise. And it sits on the top, and there's a little cable, and you can literally run it down and plug it into the external audio feed on the camera, and it'll be a lot better than the mics that are built into the camera. You can also plug, as I have done in the past, a little radio mic receiver in there if you wanted to use a radio wireless mic on a presenter or someone doing a clip. I managed to pick one up off Amazon for about 35 quid. It was actually fantastic. So they're your various options for sound when using a nice camera. Obviously you can also use an external sound source, record it to another device with a good old sync clap and sync it up later afterwards. But if you can get the sound good going into the camera, you save yourself a lot of work afterwards. So it's always worth doing that, and maybe spending a few quid here or there if that's going to make your life a lot easier.
That's right.
Right, let's talk about software. A lot of you are going to think software is probably going to cost you an absolute fortune to get the likes of things like Adobe Premiere, Pro Tools, Logic, Final Cut Pro, all of these really nice posh bits of kit out there for allowing you to do live editing, pre-record editing, sound editing. You can spend as much as little as you want. It depends what you know and what you want to do, really. However, most of the software I use is free of charge.
That's right.
For live editing and things like live broadcasting, I use OBS, which I'll put the link on the description below. This is primarily used by people who stream video games, but it's a fantastic and very in-depth piece of software that allows you to do pretty much anything. I mean, if you had the time and the know-how, you could probably run a TV studio from it. Don't hold me to that, it's just what I've experienced from it so far. You can run multiple cameras into it, you can run multiple sound sources into it, you can cut between them, you can adjust the levels of them, you can record and then live edit multi-camera shots on the fly, you can live stream directly from the software to YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, Instagram, any of the kind of live streaming platforms out there. You can have multiple shots in at one time, so you can have a desktop capture with your little webcam in the bottom like a game video. You can add live images and slideshows and text. The limits with OBS are pretty endless. I've not explored half the features in that program, and I doubt I ever will.
That's right.
Now, in terms of audio software, I use Audacity. It's free, it's really easy to use, and it is basically just plug your mic in, or whatever kind of sound source you're using, be it a headset mic, be it an external mic plugged into a nice sound card, or a little external USB audio interface. Whatever you're using, Audacity will pick it up, and you can just hit record and record that sound interface. So the external audio that I referred to earlier on in the video, that was recorded through Audacity and then just exported as a WAV file and synced up with the video with the good old-fashioned sync clap. So I would highly recommend Audacity. Again, link in the description below. Really piece of easy software to use, and again, there's lots of YouTube tutorials out there on how to do more complicated editing with it, like effects. I know people who've recorded entire songs using just Audacity and have got near professional results with it. In terms of editing pre-recorded video rather than live broadcast, I currently am using DaVinci Resolve. It's again free software that is designed by the people who make Blackmagic cinema cameras. Now, they're fantastic cameras, and it's a fantastic piece of software to go with them. There is a paid-for version of it called DaVinci Resolve Studio, I believe, and it's about 220 quid. It's one of the cheaper professional standard video editing suites out there, but the free version is ample for what most people need. I very rarely find I ever need anything that isn't in the free version of DaVinci Resolve. It has some of the best colour grading and colour correction tools I've ever seen in any video editing package. And I've used Final Cut, I've used Adobe Premiere, I've used iMovie, even back in the day used Windows Movie Maker. If that's even still around, I would be amazed. But DaVinci Resolve has some of the most in-depth and easy to use tools that I've ever seen. The most useful tool I have found is the audio sync, which allows you to have multiple camera angles, and you can sync up one single track of audio with the multiple camera angles simply by just clicking a button. As long as each of those cameras has got their own kind of audio input, it basically matches up the waveforms of the audio files, syncs them all up, so you don't have to meticulously go through, sync each camera up and then edit. You can create what's called a multi-camera clip, and you can actually do kind of run through and edit on the fly, come up with like a multi-camera shot. So if you do like an interview or a live broadcast where you might need a close-up and a wide shot, that cut between each other, it's fantastic software. Again, description for the link. Check it out. Again, loads of videos on YouTube by people who are much more knowledgeable than me. 9 times out of 10 I probably refer to videos to find out how to do something, because it's so in depth. There's so much to it, and I can't recommend it enough. Now, the main reason I wanted to make this video was because for the work I'm doing currently, I've been asked to prepare like a document, like a kind of streaming 101, listing the kind of equipment you need, the kind of software you need, the kind of skills you need. And really I thought, well, actually a little video would go really well with that, to kind of emphasise the point of you don't need a lot. You can get as creative or keep things as simple as you like, and that's entirely up to you, and it depends what you're trying to achieve with the video. So this is just trying to maybe teach some people things they didn't know, or maybe remind you of things you already did know and didn't realise. But essentially, you can do most of this with the phone in your pocket. You can even get creative and cinematic with that. There's trailers at the cinema now that are made with iPhones to advertise the new iPhone 11 or whatever. And obviously there's a bit of artistic license there, because whilst they say it's all filmed on an iPhone, it is done with proper professional kit attached to that iPhone. But the main point I'm trying to make is your video can be whatever you like. It can be as complicated or as simple as you want to make it. So the project I'm working on at the moment is all about immersion for the people watching it. It's all about them feeling like they are part of what they're watching. Because at the moment what they are watching is something they've been told they're not allowed to attend, and to some people this means an incredible amount. And it's really important for them to be able to attend, even if it is via a laptop watching it on a video stream, or via watching it on their phones or iPads or whatever they're watching it on, even their smart tellies. And it's about them being able to come together as a community and talk to each other through the live chat that is on all the various streaming services, and to be able to feel like they're still a part of what they're watching, which is something they would usually attend in person and are no longer able to. And for that, all I'm literally using is one straightforward fixed shot from where the people watching this would usually be placed. And that allows them to watch it as they would normally see it. I'm lucky in terms of the building where it's being filmed has got decent sound equipment already in place, which I'm able just to plug into a mixing desk and then run that all through a laptop using OBS and streaming it out there to, we were really fortunate. The first one we did, we had near enough 2,000 people watching it live, and since then the videos have over 6,000 views, which is incredible. But the main point I'm trying to make is it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to have thousands of pounds worth of equipment. You can get amazing results, and it can make things sometimes easier, but actually a lot of the time it's really easy just to put your phone on a tripod, make sure the sound is half decent and you can understand what they're saying, and get your message across. So I suppose if you've made it this far in the video, and if you have, thank you very much. I really appreciate you watching this. It genuinely means a lot. The main point I want to make is it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to have expensive equipment. You can just have a mobile phone, a way of standing it up, be it a bottle of wine or a pile of books, or if you can, a selfie stick head on a tripod. Get that on there, get creating videos, get making something creative, even if it is just you blabbering on like I am now, making a blog about what it is you enjoy, or you want to sit down and play some piano or guitar and sing something at people. Now is the best time to do it. We are all stuck inside because of what's going on in the world. It's an uncertain and very strange time for everyone. And I think the important thing we need to remember about this is we're all in it together. So let's be creative, let's be a community of creators, of inventors, of interesting people who want to make some fantastic content, and also to help provide for people who can't do this themselves, who don't have the facilities maybe to make this kind of content, but do have the facilities maybe to watch it, make that staying indoors a little bit less painful for everyone.
That's right.
Thanks.